All right, the highlights from the chat room today. GreatStockPicks.com, November 18th on Monday here. USU wasn't on watch or anything. I'll show you how I found it in just a second. But looking at the daily, had this big, and it's a thinner stock, but it had a big 5 million plus share day. And this doesn't look like a huge candle, but it went from 6 to 1044, actually 612 to 1044 that day, which I believe was last Wednesday. So then you had Thursday, Friday, and then today doesn't look like much either. But I spotted this when one of my unusual volume scanners that I run throughout the day picked it up. You see this little, that doesn't look like much, but it just brought it to my attention. Okay, so USU shows up on the scanner. I looked at it and said, okay, it's breaking a base here. High of day not too far away. And then I looked at the daily that I just showed you and said, hey, that had a huge move last Wednesday. This one, especially if it can get through the high of the day, they're probably going to pile into this one. And so I like the risk reward. Not right here, but I went ahead and waited for a little bit. I saw sellers come in. And so then I liked it over this red 5-minute candle. So I called it long at 817 if it got there, with a worst case stop 799. It seemed like a pretty good risk reward. So I'm looking for it to get right to about that arrow there, and the stop, worst case, right about there. So there's the trigger right there. Okay, then when it gets near the high of the day, I told the chat room, hey, this one, if it can break the high of the day, it could actually get to 9, just based on the chart. I don't think I'd ever traded this one before. And look what happens. It didn't get to 9. It got to 930. That was my best trade of the day because it happened so nicely, so quickly. Big move there. 817, it went to 930. $1.13 a share at best on 18 cents risk. And you can see the market sold off at the end of the day, which brought it all the way back down. But didn't matter. We're day traders, and we're selling into that strength. That was a really nice trade. I also called JASO. Just kind of, let me get the after hours off there. Called JASO right here over 12, and it did get to 1250 without stopping out. Again, the market took everything down at the end of the day, but we were already done. John Deere, DE, I actually called short up here. The entry 84.24 with the stop only 12 cents above, and it wasn't here, it was on the next candle, but I want to show you the reason why. One thing we look for in our chat room is what we call intraday shape. Okay, so just loosely connect the bottoms of the candles, right? And it's not very hard to see the shape change there. Now, that's not the only reason I want to short that, because it's getting ahead of itself on an intraday basis, but I also looked at the daily chart, and I said it's hitting a trend line. So we're getting intraday shape into a trend line, which I drew this line from the September highs to the October highs, and then it was hitting right at that area where the stock was getting ahead of itself on an intraday basis. So now it's interesting because we've got shape change coupled with the trend line. I mean, yeah, it snuck above it a little bit here, but that's not an exact science. Anyway, I went ahead and called it long at 84.24, which is right there, and the worst case stop 84.36, I believe, and that was the high of the day. Went all the way down to 83.47, so 70-cent move in our favor, 12 cents risk. Also called IPI. Again, another shape change scenario. You see it? Not very hard to see. Again, these aren't called just on the sole reason for a shape change. You can see the volume here too. But usually if you couple that with something else, and in the case of IPI, it was hitting the 200-day. I'll switch, and you can see this purple line here. So we had shape up into the 200-day. Great recipe for a short. Now, I trade through E-Trade and didn't have shorts available, but I know we had some traders get that. One guy with Interactive Brokers said it was his best trade of the day. So we literally caught the top there on that call. And also, along those same lines, I called CAT, C-A-T. I shouldn't say I called. I pointed out, I said, hey, CAT is getting shape here. I like it on what we call reverse 5s or reverse 2s. And it triggered on both and never looked back. I didn't take it because I'd already met my goal ×2 for the day. And I just didn't want to risk any more, giving any back. I just hate giving money back. So, but this one also was getting upside shape. If you look at the daily, it was hitting this recent high back here. Right around 85 bucks. It was breaking a base. It broke above a base, which I think is why it got that momentum, right? I didn't draw that line very well, but it's breaking this base, but it also, that base was a base inside of a bigger range, right? Or a bigger base, if you will. So yeah, I think this got it the momentum, but then it was coming up into the high of the range, and so made perfect sense to me. Gave a great short there. Look at that. I mean, that just picked the top clean for the members that took that. Like I said, I did, and I was done trading for the day. And I think there was a Halliburton I called down here. Again, another shape change deal. Called it as a long, thanks to one of our members in chat named TTD is his chat room. Anyway, I called it over this candle here, 54.57 with a stop at 54.44, and it made it up to, and you can see how long it lasted, 54.89. So really not worthy of a highlight video, but from the trigger, we were never underwater unless you go by the end of the day. But again, we're day traders, and we had plenty of time to put some money in our pockets, and I made a little chunk of change on Halliburton too, but nothing like USU or the John Deere short. All right, I'm going to leave it at that. It was a good day. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow.